Let's move on now to international news. Boris Johnson, the new leader of the Conservative Party and will become the next Prime Minister of Britain. Mr. Johnson won by a comfortable margin, securing 92,153 votes compared to Jeremy Hunt's 46,656. Our correspondent Hudson joins us now from London. Holly, let's look at the reaction from that decision. It was widely expected, but what has been the general sentiment? Are Britons happy?
Yes, well, it was widely expected, but Boris Johnson has now been confirmed as the UK's new Prime Minister, a sentence that many behind me here in Westminster and across the country might have thought would never have been uttered a few years ago, even a few months ago at least. But it was a convincing win over his rival, the current Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. 66%, as you said there, 46,000 to 92,000 votes. So he'll be delighted with that result, as will his supporters. They see this as a proper mandate for him to push through his Brexit plans, to set up the team that he wants around him and to see it as a fresh start, something obviously Boris Johnson was keen to push in his acceptance speech following the announcement. He actually used the acronym DUDE, which is Deliver, Unite, Defeat the opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn and energise, as he put it. So he was talking a lot about how Britain is a sleeping giant that will rise up and how he feels like he is the man for the job in terms of energising the country and delivering Brexit, as he has always said throughout this campaign, do or die on the 31st of October. But in a sense, winning was easy. Winning the contest was easy for Boris Johnson. Now the hard work is to come.
So let's talk about the hard work. We've seen some reactions from some European leaders, some even saying they're looking forward to constructive engagement with him. But that mandate, does it extend to the withdrawal agreement?
So yes, we've heard from Michel Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator, who tweeted he's very keen to work with Boris Johnson, looking forward to it. But in terms of ratifying the current withdrawal agreement, so a real indication there of where the EU stands. And their rhetoric hasn't really changed in that respect. They are still keen for May's withdrawal deal, the deal that she agreed. That's the only deal they say is on the table. But in Boris Johnson's eyes, that deal is dead. He wants to renegotiate with the EU, in particular with regards to the backstop. But there aren't many in Parliament here behind me that actually are convinced that he'll be able to do that in the 3 months that he has before the Brexit deadline on the 31st of October. Obviously, Theresa May couldn't do it in 3 years, and Boris Johnson inherits a very slim majority in Parliament from Theresa May, just a few MPs. So it would be very difficult for him to ratify any sort of deal with that slim majority, and of course a divided party as well.
So talking about that deadline of 31st October, Labour Party organising a protest, trying to force him to call for an election before then. How likely is that, given the fact that he said that is not going to happen?
Yes, Boris Johnson said he doesn't want that to happen, of course, before the Brexit deadline in the next 3 months. However, it would be the first 100 days of his premiership to call an early general election. However, there are many ways that it could happen. A vote of no confidence by people within his own government, within his own party, that has been floated already if he was to try and push through no deal. Many MPs have sort of mobilised in a revolt against those plans and have threatened to thwart those plans in any way they possibly can, which includes voting to bring down their own leader, their own government. Of course, the opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, as well, saying that at any time he could surprise Boris Johnson with a vote of no confidence, which again could call a general election. And Boris Johnson himself may want to do that to try and get a majority. As I mentioned there, he has a very slim majority in Parliament, so will no doubt face a similar problem to Theresa May if he is to agree a deal with the EU. So he may well call a general election himself to try and get that majority, which would mean he wouldn't necessarily need to get the support of his MPs to push through no deal, push through any sort of Brexit negotiation.
Ali, thank you very much. Hudson, our correspondent in the UK. And coming up after the break, more on the Alexandra inquiry into socio-economic conditions in Johannesburg Township. Don't go away.